Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. You've got mail from me, Bella, and this week we are discussing how you find your spark and how you find that bit of you again that you feel like you've lost, because on so many bits of my social media it's been something that I've been discussing or posting about, and so many of you have related. And I was looking through our topics and I realised we haven't actually done a podcast episode on how you find your spark again, and this is coming from someone who lost it in a big way, in a way that was I just remember at the start of this year just being like, what am I doing with my life? And I don't know who I am, and I don't know who I'm becoming, and I don't know where I'm going. And I felt like I was kind of on this runaway train. I was on this runaway train and I didn't know where it was heading, but I just knew I didn't like the destination. I knew that everything in my life kind of wasn't really going to plan. And so if this was the direction, then I knew it wouldn't be a direction that I enjoyed. And I felt so lost and so lonely. It was honestly just a really pretty awful time. And I feel like when you're in that position of you feel like you've lost your spark, you don't know who you are. Get on to the content part of this week's podcast episode. The first thing is the life update. And guys, this week, so I bought a chest of drawers because this flat came furnished, but the furnishings for the bedroom, the person who must have had clothes here must have had like 3 coats and that was it. Because the wardrobe, I kid you not, it's like that. Okay, and it's 1 rail and 1 small shelf unit, and that is it. That was the entire storage, and me, I'm like, we have a lot of clothes, okay? There was not room for anything. And so we've been living out of cardboard boxes for the last 3 months because chest of drawers is expensive, and we were going on holiday, and I was like, it's not essential. It's essential. Okay, the cardboard box life was sending me insane. I didn't know where anything was. Everything was just on top of each other and it was messy all the time. And I was like, I actually can't live like this anymore. I actually cannot live like this anymore. And so we finally bit the bullet and we got a chest of drawers. But this is your sign to always check how big the thing is when it's going to get delivered to Argos, because there was only one left in the city centre, Arndale, Argos, okay? So I got that thinking, God, perfect, what a good deal, I've managed to find it, it's the only one left. No, it's the only one left because it was 2 huge boxes that both weighed 25 kg each. And we don't have a car. So we had to get that back from the centre of town to my flat, which is maybe a 25-30 minute walk away. Not the smartest move. We were literally walking through the Arndale, holding it like a table, with them both on top of each other. We went into the Boots. This person was the loveliest person ever, took one look at us and she was like, let me get you a trolley. Got one of the stock trolleys, carried it all the way through Boots for us, and then we managed to get it into one of the taxis, and then we got it home. And to be honest, I haven't done any of the putting of it together because I just don't trust myself. It's just not my forte, DIY. I'm not a DIY queen. My boyfriend, however, very good at DIY. And this is where our skill sets merge very nicely. So he's put it all together. I really thought it wasn't going to take that long because there was a review that was like, yeah, really easy to put together, blah, 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 blah. It was not easy to put together. It took probably 3 nights. 3 evenings, but I am now pleased to announce I have no more cardboard boxes and my room actually looks really nice. And so this is a big step because the next day we went to the charity shop and everyone seems to have donated a chest of drawers and they're all in there, even though for the last 3 months I've checked most weeks and there hasn't been a single one, but it's fine. Initially I was annoyed and I thought, what are the chances as soon as we buy one there's loads here? But then I realised it's fine because we needed another one anyway and we still got a good deal, and total cost on the flat, we've only spent around £240. And I think actually that's really great because we got the balcony furniture for free. We got all of the pots and pans, blah, 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 for free. We got a rice cooker for free. The only issue is the instructions are in a different language and it has an adapter for a different country. So I need to work out what country it's for and what adapter to buy. Still, it was a free rice cooker. We've got 2 rails that were free. So all in all, we've got a lot of free stuff. So I think £250 is not that bad to spend. But other than that, I've been sticking to the routine. We're doing gym every morning, been meal prepping the lunches, been chilling on the evenings. Last night I went out with Confidentials. If you're Manchester based, Confidentials is this app where you can buy vouchers for meals. And I think they're actually national. I think you can get them in London as well. But the only thing that they don't tell you, which we found out, if you buy 1 voucher, you have to have 2 of you there to eat with it, okay? Even if you bought 1 voucher for yourself, 2 of you have to eat with it, 2 people, okay? I don't get the logic of it, but it is what it is. So, yeah, you can't just come as a 1 person and use the voucher because we had a group of 3 and we bought 2 vouchers. We could only use 1 of them because we didn't have that 4th person, which feels silly because we'd already spent, we would have spent more money. But, hey, It's still a good deal. We spent 25 quid and got 50 quid to spend. So we're just going to have to go back very, very soon. And so last weekend was lovely too. Went to see the cinema, went to see the new Conjuring, which was predictable but entertaining. I feel like they always are. And so that was honestly, I feel like I'm having a very happy routine at the moment. You know, everything feels like it's kind of slotting into place, which is a nice feeling. I think it's something that it's taken quite a while, not in like a big dramatic way, but I've kind of stopped drinking as much. And I know I go through yo-yos of this, of like, I'm drinking, I'm not drinking, I'm drinking, I'm not drinking. I think my way of phrasing it now is like, I don't like someone telling me I can't do something. I don't like it. So if I say to myself, I can't drink, then that makes me want to have a drink. It's like, I can't have chocolate. That makes me want chocolate. I can't have something. It just makes me want it more. And so I'm not trying to have that mindset. Like we went out for dinner last weekend and I had a cocktail with dinner. Before dinner. And it was lovely and I really enjoyed it. But like I've stopped so much the casual drinking, I guess, which to be honest, we didn't really do loads of anyway. But I think when you're on holiday, you just drink anyway. Like I was drinking most days. Like I'd be at the beach and I'd have a beer. Not crazy amounts, and I wasn't drunk, but I'd be at least having a drink each day. And I think that was the thing where I was like, oh, maybe this actually isn't, maybe this is making me feel not that great. And I think in deciding not to drink, not has it made me to be honest, it's not like I feel like crazy amounts better. I still, like yesterday I was the most anxious I've been in ages. Like there is still, life is happening. But what I've noticed is my weekends and the plans we do and the things we do is kind of a lot more fun. I feel like I'm having a lot more time to do fun things, which is creating a really nice balance with having a new job and with working out, which is creating a really nice balance in this kind of new chapter. So I think it's more the fact that because I'm not really going out on evenings, drinking and like staying up really late, on the weekend days, I do more things and I kind of go back to work and I feel like I've had a proper break. Whereas beforehand, I'd kind of maybe go out on a Friday night, be hungover on a Saturday, and then it would just be Sunday and that would be the weekend gone. And there's nothing wrong with that. I hate it when people make everyone feel really guilty for like going on a night out and being young and like, I'm not here to say that to you. Like, go and have fun. Do whatever you want to do. It's literally your weekend. But I found myself feeling like getting the Sunday scaries. So, it's been a nice, conscious, just doing a little bit of something else at the moment. And I think that has worked out really well. And so I'd really recommend it. You don't think of it so much as like, I'm giving up drinking, just I'm actually wanting to do other things instead. That's how I'm phrasing it because, if I really want to have a drink, I'll have a drink. It's not life or death type situation. But I'm trying to prioritize other things in my life more now. And I think it's working nicely for me. But anyway, that is enough of me yapping about my drinking situation, whether I am and whether I'm not. But I always find it really interesting to find out how other people like use it and treat it. I find it's quite like a polarizing topic now, which is before, like for our parents' generation, I reckon it like everyone just drank loads and that was just like a given. And I think it's really interesting how people are kind of switching up their mentality about drinking. But anyway, I could chat about this for ages, but that is not the topic of this week's podcast episode. And I am slightly aware that my mic only has 1 bar of power in it, which you would say, Bella, why didn't you go and get that charged? Yeah, why didn't I go and get that charged? But hey, here we are, and we're just going to have to deal with that. So the topic of this week's podcast episode is finding your spark again. Is finding that little bit of you again in the moments where you feel like you've really lost it. Because those moments where you feel like you have lost it are they're scary. And they don't happen all of a sudden. I think the narrative around losing your spark is it makes it feels like, you've lost your keys. You had it and then it's gone. And it's just disappeared and you don't know where it's happened. But that's not the case. Losing your spark is a gradual process. It's something that happens over time. It's like a storm coming in where you didn't know to have a weather warning. Okay? You don't see the storm coming. You don't even know the storm's there, and then all of a sudden the storm is there and there's this thick fog and you can't really see your way out. But you don't really remember how it happened either. And that is something that's really tricky in that it's not this all of a sudden moment. It's this gradual process where all of a sudden you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I don't recognize myself anymore. I don't know who I am. I don't know who I want to be. I don't know where my life is going. And I feel like I've lost that drive in me. Because I kind of think that spark, not only is it the thing that makes us happy, but it's the thing that drives us. It's the thing that makes us feel like, I like where my life is going. I like what I'm doing. I like who I'm becoming. This is all building on each other. And I think the things in our life, they have a tendency to propel other things, you know? It's this continuous cycle that builds this continual momentum, like a snowball running down a hill. The more things you like, the more things you find, it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds until you have this ginormous snowball filled with all of the things in your life that you really love and enjoy. But the thing is, when you've lost that snowball, when you've lost that momentum that's carrying you forward to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, it can be hard to get going again. It can be hard to find that thing that's going to be your first push. It can be really, really scary to think, I'm just floating. Like, I am right now just floating, and I don't know how to float, and I don't want to float, and I don't know how to deal with this, and this is scary. And I think this is what I wanted to talk about, because I got into this floating position. It feels like, I guess, the right point to talk about it. Because I'm not going to say... It feels like the right point to talk about it, because I'm not going to sit here and be like, my life is perfect, everything is great, but I am more sustainably okay. I still have days where I'm very anxious. I still have days where I cry. I still have days where I'm anxious and scared and fearful and not feeling that great, but that's normal. And I think we need to normalize a life where, you know, you're going to have off days. You're not going to feel great all of the time, but you could feel great majority of the time, or not even great, just like generally okay. It's that rule of 3, isn't it? A third you're going to feel great, a third you're going to feel rubbish, a third you're going to feel just okay. But the thing is, when I was at the end of last year, majority of my life was rubbish. I felt rubbish. I was anxious all the time. I was so unhappy, and it wasn't a healthy way to live. I was not nice to be around, being honest. Like, I wasn't nice to be around. I was emotional and very, very tearful and anxious, just so anxious, crying before I went to bed because I was scared about the next day coming, crying all the time, crying before I went to work, I was not in a good way. And I think there is something in me that wants to prove to everyone and like the world that I can do this. I can do something that's tough. I can do something that's hard. And when I'm not enjoying something, then that makes me think that like, oh, I should be enjoying this. I should be doing better. I should be able to do it. And I'm going to continue doing it until I can do it. And that determination and like that wanting to do well, like it served me well. You know, there's been things in my life that I've had to work really hard towards. And the end goal has only come in like the final 5 seconds of like a 5-minute situation. You know, it's come in the very, very end moment because I've worked so hard for that long. And eventually, you know, when you work hard and you show up, good things happen to you. But I think you have to realize when that good thing that you're working towards is actually what you want, that you're doing it for the right reasons, that your motivation is correctly placed. Because I think my motivation was incorrectly placed. And that's kind of what led me to lose my spark. I was in a situation and I was unhappy. And I didn't like where I was going. And rather than thinking, oh, okay, I don't actually feel motivated by doing well because I enjoy what I'm doing. I feel motivated because I'm finding this so bad that I want to prove to people I can find it good, you know? I want to show them that, yeah, I can do this. I am good at this. I am all of these things. Like, that's what I want to show them. And that wasn't actually something that I would ever feel any fulfillment from. But that type of mindset, that was my storm. And I think we all have different storms, you know. Your different storm is not necessarily going to be this like need to pursue something that isn't fulfilling to you. It could be anything. It could be a failed relationship with your family, with a partner, the ending of a friendship, the moving of a new city, losing friends, finding friends and not fitting in with them and not thinking they're part of like your, you know, there are so many situations in life that cause us to question who we are and can be that storm that kind of seeps over and comes without a warning, and it's not going to be the same thing for everyone. I think that's important as well because we can often invalidate our own experience because it doesn't look the same as someone else's, because we think that experience is the only one that has that situation, when the truth is that losing your spark, I don't think we should think of it like a specific thing. I think we should think of it more, and this is also what I want to say, I don't think losing your spark is the correct terminology we should use. Because losing your spark makes it sound exactly like I said, like you've lost a set of keys. That it's just, you've just lost it. Not only does it sound immediate, but it also sounds like something's gone. Your spark is gone, you're empty. There's something that's missing from you, there's something that's broken. And I don't like that. Because I don't think you're ever broken. I don't think there's ever a part of you that's gone. that part of you that makes you you is still in there. Because I think when I was in it, in the thick of it, there was a part of me that was like a bit scared that like I might feel this way forever. This might not ever change. I might always feel this way, and that's a bit scary. And to think that you've lost your spark, to think about the fact that your life might not get any better, like that's a really uncomfortable thing to think, and that's not something anyone wants, and that is something that we want to kind of ward against, because when you're in the thick of it, those types of thoughts don't help. Those types of thoughts make you feel even more lost in a situation that's already pretty daunting. And I think this is my first thing of, I don't think you ever lose your spark. What happens is weeds start to grow in the garden of your mind. This is how I think of it. Your spark is the sunflowers, okay? Stay with me. Your spark is the sunflowers. And then these weeds start to grow. These weeds start to grow that, they're things you don't like. They're things that are causing you friction in your life. They're things that aren't bringing you peace, that don't make you happy. They just start to grow. And they grow and they grow. And just like weeds do, they start to grow stronger and stronger, and they take up the oxygen and they take the sun away from the sunflowers, and they start to block the light, and they start to become all consuming. And then just like that storm appeared all of a sudden you've had a bumper harvest of weeds, and your sunflowers don't know which direction the sun's in anymore. The storms come over, the weeds are flourishing, those sunflowers are not. And in those moments where the weeds are kind of overruling everything, that's when it's really scary. That's where we don't know what we're doing. That's where we feel like we've lost that part of us. And I think when you're in the thick of that, my biggest tip is you're going to have to sit down and get your favourite journal out, because we all have one. We all have a special journal, okay? Mine is green. I'm going to get mine for you. Okay, this is mine. This is my specialist one. I don't know why it's my specialist one, but it just is. I think it's because it's slightly quilted, and I think that's quite nice. First entry, 2022. It is June 30th, and I've reached 10,000 followers on TikTok. This was my goal. This is my manifestation journaling list of like big things I want in my life. And I never use it for anything else other than, what do I want in my life? Where do I want my life to go? How are things going? And I think if you don't have your favourite most special journal for the most ultimate special journal entries, I would highly recommend. Anyway, sidetracked. I think when you are unhappy and you don't know where your life is going, you're going to have a moment where you sit down and face the music, where you look at your life and you think, what isn't working right now? And you're honest, okay? You're going to have to face facts that things aren't working, because when we lose our spark, it's because something isn't working. Whether it's a relationship that's draining us, a friendship that's draining us, a job that is draining us, a lifestyle that is draining us, a house that is draining us, anything. Something is draining. Something is sapping the energy out of you. Something has made your spark dim. Not lost, dim. Okay, the weeds are growing strong. Why are they growing strong? What is the thing that is feeding them? Find the thing that is feeding them. Write it out, okay? Be honest with yourself, because you know the things that aren't making you happy. You know the moments where you feel really anxious beforehand. You know the things that are going to make you feel not great, okay? You get those things. And so I want you to sit down and really consciously think about what those things could be and how they impact your life and why they impact your life. And then you're going to have to do some uncomfortable decision making, and you're going to have to start gardening. And you're going to have to chop those weeds down, and it's going to take tiny, and like chop the little weeds first, When I was really unhappy, at first I was like, you know what? I actually haven't gone to the gym regularly in months. I had no routine with what I was doing. I was going out most weekends. And so like the first thing I decided to do is I was like, oh, do you know what? I'm going to create a little bit more of a routine for myself. I'm going to start doing these little things. I'm going to try and, clear the gardening, clear the weeds in my mind just a little bit. And I did a bit of gardening. And yeah, it helped. But it didn't solve it. I was still really anxious. I was still quite unhappy. I still hadn't found that thing in me that made me feel great, because your spark is linked to your purpose. It's that feeling of belonging. It's that feeling of like happiness and contentment in where you are. And sometimes it might just be a few little things. Sometimes you might have not have dimmed it as much as you think you have, but sometimes you're also going to have to chop down the massive tree that you always thought you'd love, and that's going to be more uncomfortable, okay? Sometimes there's going to be bigger decisions that you have to make. Bigger things you're going to have to let go of, new things you're going to have to try, big decisions that you're going to have to make. But I think when I left and made my big decision, there was part of my brain that didn't want to leave it because I thought I had to stick in it. And it was this weird scenario where I felt almost duty bound. It was almost like I thought that life was like school and you just had to do the thing that was in front of you. And if you didn't like it, well, suck it up. Okay? You just have to do it. And yes, there are those situations, but that you also have to recognize when you have choices in those situations. When something isn't working and you actually do have the ability to leave. And okay, you might leave and it might not work out great, but you're going to leave. And okay, you might leave and it might not be perfect immediately, but chopping down the massive tree, leaving the job that was making me miserable, gave me the moment for the sunflowers to finally see the light. And it didn't happen instantly, okay? I didn't all of a sudden quit my job and the next day I was like, oh my God, I'm back. This is it. No, okay. Probably took maybe February, March, April, May, June, July, August. I think it's taken 7 months. Because I look at my life now and I think this is the sustainable life where I feel happy and excited. I have that purpose again. And I like where I'm going and I feel quite driven and I feel quite on it. This is the spark for me. This is the thing that I had lost. And I think that's when I realised that cutting down the massive tree, giving your sunflower space to breathe, clearing some of the weeds away, making that soil empty space again is really important. Because finding your spark isn't so much always about like searching out new things in your life that bring you joy. Sometimes it can just be about clearing away the things that are making you miserable and leaving space for joy to find. Because I think this is the thing, like a meadow, when you have clear open soil, the flowers will grow. They'll come. And when the flowers start growing, you're going to find joys that you didn't even know you wanted to enjoy because they leave space for like spontaneity. They leave space for joy to happen. And I think we often expect that joy to be instant, but it's not. Because flowers have to take time for their roots to settle, okay? Things have to take time to grow, but they will grow. They always do. And I think this is the biggest thing I learned about losing my spark is that you cannot find peace in the things that are not meant for you. When something is not right, it's not going to make you feel happy. It's going to make it uncomfortable and feel confusing, and it's just never going to sit right. And the things that don't bring us peace, the things that are friction in our lives, those are the things that aren't meant for us, okay? Those are the things we have to let go of because some things in life just will not work. That relationship you're still holding on to that isn't working, okay? The job that you find absolutely miserable that just isn't for you. The city you're living in, you hate everything about it and you want it so badly to work, but the thing is it's just not working. Not everything in life will work. And I think it's about understanding when you've tried and you've tried and you've tried and eventually you just have to cut the tree down. Because as much as you want to love it, it is blocking all of the sunlight. Okay, it's taking up every single ounce of your being, and the thing is those sunflowers aren't growing anymore. And we need those sunflowers to be able to see the sunlight. They need to know which direction to head. And so if you have lost your spark, I hope you followed my sunflower analogy because I really feel like I've woven it through quite a lot. I want you to know it's not going to feel this way forever because you haven't lost the part of you that makes you feel you. You just need to create space for that part of you to shine again. Okay, you've just dimmed it. You haven't lost it, you've dimmed it. And that is a very big difference. The second thing that I want you to realize is that sometimes a little bit of weeding will go a long way. Cutting out the things in your life that aren't bringing you joy, that you're finding frictionful, not frictionless. That you're not able to find peace in, those are the things that you need to get rid of. And sometimes it's going to be big things and it's uncomfortable. But losing your spark often takes making changes because you need to find a way to find that spark again. And finally, try not to think of it so much like searching for something within you again, because it happens more gradually. Because I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, I started doing all these hobbies and I like woke up the next day and I just found myself. That isn't how it worked. Instead, I started to get to know myself again and I created space in my everyday life and I worked out who I wanted to be. And then all of a sudden, this version of me who I wanted to be started to just like appear because I'd given her space to grow, and it wasn't quick, okay? It took maybe 7 months. And that's not always what we want to hear, but it wasn't this like quick fix. It was actually, 3 months until I actually felt like solidly better. And then 7 months in, I'm like, you know what? I've actually created a lot. Like, we've really turned a corner here. And this is something I'm really proud about. And grateful to myself for. But anyway, if you know someone who has lost their spark, who is dealing with a lot of uncertainty, who is unsure of who they are, then please send this podcast episode their way, because the more people that find us and the more people that know about us, the bigger the podcast can grow, and that's something that's very exciting. But anyway, to the content part of this week's podcast episode. Oh my God, that just jumped out of my hand. What's something you've noticed in yourself recently? I noticed the self-talk that I have about situations that used to make me really anxious has become quite positive. Like, I felt anxious about the situation with friends, and I was overthinking. And then I just found myself like lying in bed being like, if that happens, I can just say I want to go with them and they'll be fine with it. I know they'll be fine with it. Like, this isn't something we need to overthink, really. Like, if we want to go with them, we can still go with them. Or we can go with the other person, but this isn't something to overthink. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, we've never been this like logical about over anxious thinking ever before. And I've kind of noticed that a lot. I think there's a perspective shift, and I don't know why. I can't really explain it, but there just all of a sudden seems to be that's actually all right. Like, I can deal with that. I can do this. I can be that kind of nice narrative. Because I think the thing is, I say so many nice things to you, and it was really funny because I was on the phone to my mum and I was having a bit of like a wobble, and she was like, Bella, you just need to think about the things you say to everyone else. You need to start believing them, you too. Okay, you need to believe them. And I was like, yes, it's a bit hypocritical, really, isn't it? A little bit hypocritical of me. So I've started to like just be kinder to myself, and I think that's been a big thing. How do you balance being grateful for the present with striving for more? I think it's a tricky balance. I think it's very hard not to live totally in the future with the work that you're doing, but I think it's in the everyday being present, you know, the tasks that you do every day, the really silly like menial tasks like going for the food shop, cleaning your flat, watching TV, blah, 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 doing those things, and in those moments being present, but also allowing yourself to have moments where you dream big. And I think also realizing that thinking about what you want to do to get somewhere doesn't mean you're not grateful for where you are. It just means you want something more. And I think it's that presence and mindset of doing the things where you're doing it just for you now. You know, they're your current routine. Going to the gym, for example, for me, going for a run, all of those things are moments where I'm present. But when I'm working on the podcast or when I'm planning the next content or blah, 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 that's me thinking about my future. And so I think that's okay. I think it's like a good way to balance it. And final question. I need to let go of someone out of love for myself, not spite, but I struggle. Any advice? I think any situation, like to advise on someone's very personal situation, like I don't always love doing it because there's so much nuance. I'm not a therapist. I don't know. I don't know. But what I would say is when you're having to let go of someone because you need to love yourself more, because it's like it's just hurting you. It's not because of something bad has happened. It's because you need to let go of it. I think it's making peace with the reasons why you need to let go of it. It's thinking about what's changed. It's thinking about why this doesn't work. And, in moments where I've had to let go of things that I really thought I wanted, I've had like a notes app. Like I've used my notes and I've just had like the list of things of reasons why it doesn't work. And I think it's realizing that the biggest thing in life is time. Time is the biggest healer. And, like we spoke about a bit of breakups last week, sometimes you need to give yourself time. And so don't put too much pressure on yourself to think it has to happen immediately. Often these things won't. Often they'll take a moment, but that's okay because they will happen. You will get through it and you will manage to let go of them because your life will be filled with other things. I promise it will happen. But anyway, thank you for listening to this week's podcast episode. If you don't already, please press subscribe and make sure you're following me on Instagram and on TikTok at Mel from Bella. We're at 115,000 on TikTok and we are at 20,000 on Instagram, which is a pretty cool number. And it's my big goal to get to 500,000 on TikTok and 50,000 on Instagram, because then it'd just be like 5. And I feel like 5 is my angel number at the moment. And so I really want that. So please, there are 8,000 followers of you here. I would love it if you also followed me on social media so that we can all have a big group chat and it'd be really fun. But anyway, thank you for listening. I love you and I can't wait to speak to you next week. Bye. Mwah.